All right, we are live. We'll give everybody a moment or two to stream in here, and before we go ahead and get started. And big group for the show today, which I love. Be fun and a lot to get to. Start of the NFL season tonight as well. Rob, what's your NFL fandom? You're not a. I mean, we talk about it every year, but I feel like you don't have Niners. Is I think what you've told me is your biggest.
The Niners are close, and I grew up in that world. But first, my dad liked Vince Lombardi,
Okay.
and so I've always had a soft spot for the Green Bay Packers, even though I've never lived in Wisconsin. I don't own stock in the Packers. I'm thousands of miles away. I've never been to a Packers game. Um, but I know we have people on the call here who are from all over the nation. So, Rich, you should do a poll.
Yeah, let's start there. I'm sorry, Alicia made the mistake of telling me she was a Cowboys fan just a minute ago.
Yeah, I know.
My Browns play them on Sunday. So we'll start with Ashley, actually. No, I'm sorry, Alicia. I'm just kidding. But here's everybody. Rob's all over the country. Today you're in San Francisco area, Rob. Correct?
Yep, Marin County, Larkspur.
Ashley, what part of the country?
I sit in Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. Jordan?
San Diego, California.
San Diego. There you go. And Alicia?
I'm in Connecticut, although still a Dallas Cowboys fan.
So 2 Eastern time zone and 3 Pacific today. So there you go. So we are live. We see people streaming on. Just give them another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, I saw Ira's name pop up, Rich. I think
he's a huge Cowboys fan.
Is he? Well,
Also in Jersey. Yeah.
Which is odd. So Ira, type in how is the New York NBA conference.
Oh yeah, that is going on. I will say that even though I sit in Oregon, born and raised in Oregon, my dad, for some reason, not quite sure, has also been a diehard Cowboys fan for my entire life. And kind of by default, I have adopted the fandom. And then my stepdad came into my life a little bit later, born and raised in Fort Worth. So he is also a diehard Cowboys fan. So I really can't anywhere I go. Now my son is decked out in Cowboys gear, and
hasn't that been a disappointing team to root for like 40 years?
Very.
It's been hard. It's been challenging.
Sunday.
All right, let's go ahead.
It's very loud in my house.
Let's go ahead and get into it. I'm Rich Swerbinsky with Onward Upward Consulting. This is The Big Picture. And as always, pleased to be joined by esteemed colleague and co-host, Rob Chrisman. Rob, good to see you. And this week,
good to see you too. I'm muting myself due to some background noise here.
Okay, excellent. And this week, very, very pleased. 3 special guests, all from the Mortgage Bankers Association. And we have Ashley Yarabinec, we have Jordan Bucher, and Alicia Goncalves, all who work closely with the MBA members. And, you know, we talk so much on this show just about policy and things going on in DC, and no industry like the mortgage industry, where we have less control of variables, it seems like, if it's interest rates or other headwinds or tailwinds, and certainly government policy. And so we wanted to, with the election approaching, wanted to bring in some of the team from the NBA. So very pleased to have you all here, and thanks for joining us.
Happy to be
Thanks
here.
for having us.
Thank you.
Excellent. So a lot to get to there. And as always, we encourage your questions, comments, feedback in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll incorporate into the show if appropriate. And but Rob, we got to start the big picture with the big picture, which is
Rich. Hold on, Rich. You say you'll incorporate it in the show if appropriate.
Well,
have you ever seen anything that's not appropriate?
We do get a lot of very unsultry comments about you, Rob, that I have to filter out. So, you know, so I do a good job of, you know, keeping that from the masses.
Jordan's already logged off.
She's like, screw this. So, Rob, jobs is the soup of the day. We got a couple big reports this morning. The ADP private employment report expected that there were 140,000 new private sector jobs added in July, only 99,000. So another kind of miss to the negative on the jobs front. Jobless claims this morning, slightly positive. I think it dropped by about 5,000 and was a little under expectations. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, a gigantic employment report for August. And I guess I'll go to you posing this question, Rob. I would argue this is potentially one of the biggest, most influential monthly employment reports we've had in a long time, just because of its direct correlation to this number and how it may influence the Fed in a couple of weeks. Agree or disagree?
Rich. So it seems like you should work for, Bloomberg Radio or CNBC. It seems like every employment, the first Friday of every month, it's bigger than the last. It's pretty much not that Jerome Powell necessarily knew about what tomorrow's number would bring, but he has gone on record as saying they are in rate lowering territory. And so the question is, it's going to be 25 basis points or 50 basis points. There are signs of weakness that are showing up in the economy. And it's not so much weakness, it's just lack of strength or lack of momentum higher. So I don't know if it's a big number or not. I mean, is it going to take a rate cut off the table if it surprises to the upside? Probably not. So then the question is, are they going to lower rates 25 or 50 basis points? Tomorrow will give us more of an indication, but it'll come and go, and immediately the financial press will start talking about the next CPI number or the next PPI number or next week's jobless claims number and so forth. Employment is a little bit weak. You can't have unemployment at 3% range forever. And so the employment picture is weakening a little bit or less strong than it was. Inflation has crept down, so that's good for the Fed. I would say the Fed's done a decent job here in recent months, and they are ready for a rate cut. But I don't know if tomorrow is a gigantic number on the upside or the downside. The only thing that will move rates is if it's a big surprise, and whether or not it's a big surprise is anybody's guess. We could take a poll on this phone call and whether rates were going to be higher or lower in 24 hours. That would probably be as good an estimate as any. But jobless claims, ADP, Challenger, Gray Christmas, they're all pointing to a picture where unemployment has been creeping up, or I should say the employment picture has been weakening slightly, which in theory should lead to lower rates. And we've seen lower rates. The 2-year and the 10-year are well into the well below 4%, both of them. The inverted yield curve is much less inverted, in fact, pretty flat, really. We'll probably continue to see rates creep down as 2024 goes on. What do you think?
Well, I mentioned it was big just because, we've been waiting on a Fed cut for 15 months now. Essentially, I remember, in the last winter, it was like, oh yeah, Jan, Feb. So now it's, it's been drawn out for reasons we know. So I do think it's important. I think, again, I think they're expecting tomorrow 160,000 new jobs were added in August. I think July was 114, which was a huge miss to the downside. So if tomorrow is 50,000 jobs, I think 50 basis points is, a 50 basis point cut is very, very much in play. And you'll see some immediate probably rate relief to that end. And on the flip side, if tomorrow's 230 or 240 new jobs, a big miss to the upside, I think it would be tough for the Fed to cut more than a quarter in September as they kind of get the ball rolling. So we'll see what happens, but I do sensationalize everything. That's for sure. So
ladies, you should hear him talking about it. I said, Rich, did you brush your teeth today? Oh yeah. And he goes down like, talking about the teeth brushing experience. Does Rich would be I want him to give the oration at my funeral. He does a good job.
You gotta find the joy in the little things, right?
Exactly.
got to, right, exactly. So, well, moving on to our esteemed guests today. Very, very pleased to have Ashley and Jordan and Alicia with us today to get into a lot of things going on with the Mortgage Bankers Association. And we're coming up on a couple big conferences, Compliance Risk, and we've got, of course, MBA Annual, the biggest mortgage conference of the year. And I just wanted to kind of open with a question to all of you, just engaging with your members, how you do it, maybe what's top of mind with them. As you guys kind of go into this season, it's, getting closer to the end of the year. We obviously have an election coming up. There's just so much stuff going on right now. So I'd just love to get your guys' perspective on just your roles in engaging with members. And I'm going to start with Ashley, just because she's clockwise in the Zoom wheel today. So Ashley, we'll start with you.
Sure, yeah. Well, thanks again for having me. Ashley Yarabinec. I'm Director of Member Relations with MBA. And one of the biggest jobs that we have, or roles as someone on the member engagement team, is we manage a portfolio of our lenders. And what that means is really making sure that they know what their membership entails, everything we have. Like you said, there's so much going on all at one time, and there's so much that MBA has to offer that it's really our role to make sure that they know what all of that information is and where to get it. So we do a lot of on-site member visits to our member companies that are within our portfolios. We're at a lot of conferences. One of the newest things that we've been offering this year is called our MBA Connect roundtables, where we select a city that has a large group of our members in there and bring them all in at once. And it's a really, really nice kind of intimate setting. It's a full debrief on everything MBA is doing. We get direct access to listen to them and what they are seeing on the ground floor. So there's a lot of different ways to really engage with the MBA, and I think we'll get to a lot of those a little bit later in the show. But yeah, I'll hand it over to Jordan.
Yeah, and just to put a quick plug in, so with the MBA Connect Roundtable, I'm hosting one in a few weeks here in Detroit. So any Michigan-based members, feel free to reach out. I'd love to have you there in the room. But I work on the same team as Ashley at the MBA, Director of Member Relations. I primarily work with residential lenders, typically headquartered in the Southwest and Midwest regions. So, like Ashley said, we are kind of the boots on the ground for MBA. We travel, the M team. We've been around for a few years now, but from an engagement standpoint, we've really upped what we do for our members. And again, just traveling around the country just to meet members where they are. So excited to be here today.
I'm assuming no MBA roundtables in Cleveland in February, though.
Not in February.
No. I had to go in January last year, and that was a tough. That was a tough fly-in. So no, I'm gonna fly south for the winter this time.
And Alicia?
I think that's smart. Yeah, Alicia Goncalves. I'm the newest member of the M team, and I actually handle our associate members. So anywhere from tech providers to professional services to our law firms. So hold a pretty large portfolio, have been getting myself acclimated with everyone. I do a lot of one-on-ones with our members. I also have an associate advisory council that we are looking to really expand more on what the MBA can offer to those associate members. Have had some great conversations, and I'm super excited for going into the next fiscal year. Definitely no stranger to the MBA. I've been at member companies since a very young age. I'm one of those unique stories where my grandfather owned his own brokerage shop growing up. So I had no choice but to process loans and all of that fun stuff for him right out of school. I said I'd never stay in this industry, but I swear once you're in, it's hard to get out. And pretty happy to still be here and happy to be on the team with Ashley and Jordan and the rest of the MBA.
Awesome.
Did you call yourselves the M team?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So does the MBA have like the E team? Is that the economics team, or the F team, which is finance? I mean, do you have different teams like that?
I think we're the only one.
I think we're just unique. Yeah.
I love it.
I heard somebody talking about a group of urologists that called themselves the Stream Team. So that's why I kind of latched onto the M team there. So go ahead, Rich. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's so many people, how people get into the mortgage industry. It's always a crazy story. Like nobody plans for it, but a lot of times it's family. Alicia, like you said, your family you had a business, and Rob, how did you get into the mortgage industry? I don't think we've ever had this discussion. Way back.
Rich, we have 3 people on this call other than you and me. I think we should.
Okay, I was just curious. It never came up, and
It's a kind of a funny story, but it was out of Cal MBA program.
Okay, all right. We'll dig deeper into that in a later show for the fans. So Ashley, the policy side, obviously we have an election coming up, and just so much. I've never heard this much talk about housing just in the mainstream media. Rob's heard me bitch about not enough talk about housing, politicians and campaigns, and when appropriate, not maybe being enough into the national vernacular. But now it's everywhere, including both campaigns, putting out stuff about it, talking about it. And I think people don't realize fully. I say it all the time on this show. We would be so screwed without the MBA, our industry. DC is no fan of the mortgage industry. That is clear by many metrics. So we just need competent professionals like yourselves and the whole team kind of fighting for us. But I don't think people realize really how involved MBA is in helping, not only shape policy that can help our industry, but a lot of times preventing bad policy that could harm our industry. And beyond that, how easy it is for MBA members to get involved in that discussion. If you could just touch on that, Ashley.
Sure. So, we have an incredible policy team. And I think the best way for anybody, any MBA member to get involved is really joining a committee. It's really the best way to stay on top of the current industry issues. It's a direct way for our members to be able to lend their voice and their feedback about what challenges you're facing every day and in your business. We have a policy team leading almost 20 committees that are available to you, everything from loan administration, loan production, secondary and capital markets, to a little bit more of the niche areas, regulatory compliance, tax, audit, fraud, things like that. But almost 20 committees where we have, and the policy team has the relationships with the regulatory agencies. So hearing what's most important from you during those committee meetings is what is going to help drive the industry's response and our response to the issues and challenges that you're facing in your business every day. One of the best pieces about being a part of that committee or any of those committees is you also have direct access to our policy experts with the online forums, and then on the committee calls as well. So really taking advantage of the opportunities that MBA is providing you as members, being on the committees, spreading the wealth. You can be on more than one committee at a time, depending on your area of the business. But that's really the best way to stay on top of what's happening and have direct access and really lend your voice, because the members are the ones that are in the field doing it every day. And so we want to be able to hear from you and hear what you're facing and get on top of those issues and challenges firsthand.
So Ashley, you need to change policy team is too cumbersome. P team. P team.
I'll pass that along. We'll see if they go for it.
And what's the latest on the election commentary, and why is that so important?
Yeah, so obviously everybody is kind of waiting to see what's going to happen in November. We had a presence at the RNC and the DNC both, with some really impactful meetings, and MBA is really just going to closely monitor the different policy proposals that are impacting the real estate finance industry from both the Trump and Harris campaigns. So we're keeping a pulse on it, and kind of gearing up for whatever happens.
Excellent. And then moving over to the advocacy side of things, like the fighting for things that we need in our industry, the one that everybody loves and feels like we're getting close on this, Jordan, is the trigger lead bill. If you could give us the latest on what's going on with that, because I know a lot of people are probably tuned in to hear more about that.
Yeah, so speaking about what's top of mind for our members right now, of course, is the trigger leads bill. And I'm glad that you brought that up because MBA is leading the effort to get Congress to end abusive trigger leads. So I'm sure Ashley can attest to this, working with our residential lenders during this renewal season. But I have been repeatedly told how important it is to stop all of the harassing calls and texts that customers receive when they're trying to close their home loan. So I believe we're about 26 legislative days left this Congress. So our advocacy team is really working hard to get the trigger lead bill included in something that must pass. So like the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. So that work continues as the House and Senate negotiate over the defense bill. But Congress likely won't make a final decision on the other measures to be included in that bill until after the election. And so I think one analogy that I really like that someone on our advocacy team used to sort of describe the status of the trigger leads bill is we have all the ingredients we need on the table, but the cake is not yet baked. So in other words, this is still an active issue, and that is why it's really important for our industry to keep reminding Congress just how important this issue is. So that's sort of the latest there on the trigger leads bill and where that stands.
So Jordan, the advocacy team, the A team, the last I heard from Bob was that, and I'm really simplifying this quite a bit, but he said, well, it's attached to the National Defense Appropriations Bill or something. Is that what you're saying won't be voted on until after the election?
Correct. Any final decisions around those measures, yeah, would likely take place after the election.
And Jordan, for the lay person, Bill Kilmer, your lobbyists, like the process, like, so, an issue like this that the whole mortgage industry has been screaming about for a while, MBA involved, making progress. Like, what does that process look like? Does it start just, meetings with staffers and Congress people and just raising awareness, raising the noise level until it can kind of get attached to a bill? But maybe shed us a little light on, some inside baseball on how these things progress behind the curtain.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that question. So I think the main avenue that we get the work done is through our Mortgage Action Alliance. And everyone listening today, we really encourage you to join MA if you're not already. It's open to both MBA members and non-members, and we have a current call to action for trigger leads called Share Your Story. And so you can easily take action. It takes only a few seconds to do so, but we really are trying to gather as many stories as we can about trigger leads and how they've affected your business, how they've affected your client's experience applying for a loan. And so we do encourage you to take action that way. And, thank you to those who are listening today that have already taken action and reached out to Congress for this. But that's definitely the best avenue to do so in terms of getting in contact with your elected officials on Capitol Hill on not only the triggered leads issue, but other issues as well that MBA is focused on.
Is the big concern is the big concern from the opponent? There must be an opposing side. So who is on the opposing side of not doing anything about abusive trigger leads? But what is the argument against the legislation?
Yeah, and that's actually, so I can speak to it at a high level, but I will say I'm going to put a quick plug in. So we have a September 17th webinar hosted by our lobbyists and advocacy team. It's our MA quarterly webinar. Encourage everyone to dial in for that. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks here, and they're really going to do an in-depth discussion on this issue, a 2024 election preview, and the impact that the election will have on our industry going forward, the potential impact. So I'm going to sort of defer to our lobbying team to sort of address those specific questions. But yeah, definitely encourage you to dial in for that coming up.
This is The Big Picture. I'm Rich Swerbinsky with Onward and Upward Consulting, part of the Chrisman Commentary Network, joined as always by my co-host, Rob Chrisman. And this week, Ashley Yarabinec, Jordan Bucher, and Alicia Goncalves from the Mortgage Bankers Association, getting caught up on everything going on at MBA. And a big part of the value, at least throughout my life at MBA, the conferences that you guys put together, a chance to one fell swoop, meet really with everybody you're doing business with, attend, really impactful educational and networking sessions, and just really stay dialed into what the hell is going on in the industry. And we got a couple coming up here, Alicia. We've got the Compliance Risk Management Conference, and then of course MBA Annual coming up in Denver. And but compliance risk, I've heard they're the biggest partiers of any of the conferences. I heard they're out till the wee hours. Is that false?
Crazy bunch for sure. So that one is coming up September 22nd through the 24th in DC. And actually, we're super excited because it is record-breaking attendance for this conference. You've seen numbers down at some conferences just because of the state of the industry, but compliance and risk is really important. And I think everyone needs to kind of have a hand in it. So I'm very excited to see those numbers. There's still time to register. Of course, we'd love to continue seeing those numbers rise, but you're getting updates directly from the GSEs and regulators. You have access to best practices, to really be able to leverage things like your risk management and your QA, QC, compliance and fraud. So all the things that, maybe not seem so glamorous, but are so important to, our highly regulated industry. And the good thing is too, you can earn your CLE credits and CPE credits, and the Back to Diversity Scholarship, which is done through our education department, can be used for this conference. So great ways to kind of save a little bit of money and be able to go and get all of these highlights that, are really important for your business.
And Jordan, Empower, which has been a great addition, kind of bolt on these when Empower 5 years ago, you guys started that? 6, 7?
Gosh, I should know the exact year, but I think that sounds about right.
It wasn't in the show notes. Yeah, that was a surprise question. But if you could just tell the audience a little bit about Empower and maybe some of the events that they have coming up that are part of the conferences that Alicia was talking about.
Yeah, of course. Well, I have the privilege of working with Marcia Davies, who's the founder of Empower. She's our COO at MBA. And that's, for those of you who aren't familiar, it's the largest network for women in real estate finance. So I think to date, we have over 9,300 women and men who are part of the network who want to support the initiative. So we encourage you to join. There's an online community, and we host quarterly webinars throughout the year, all centered around leadership and professional development for women in the workplace. But we do have our Empowering You Summit, and I might be speaking for everyone, Ashley and Alicia, but I have to say it's my favorite event of the entire year. I really look forward to it every single year. It's the day before annual. So this year it's October 26th in Denver. But it's an all-day event. It's filled with plenty of networking, a lot of high energy sessions, great panels, inspirational speakers. This year our headliner is Jane Fonda, so we're really looking forward to that. But again, it's a great space to give and get advice and connect with other women in the industry, and just learn from one another and sort of feel empowered at the end of the day. So that's our primary objective. And there's just so many great resources that you have access to being involved with Empower.
And Alicia,
Yeah, you can absolutely speak for me. Sorry, Rob. I was just saying.
Go ahead.
That's why you gotta love technology and the Zoom boxes. You have to wait to see if the green light glows, right? No, I was just saying from being, from a member company prior to joining the MBA, Empowering You, the full day event, was the most eye-opening experience. I talk it up as much as I possibly can. It just really is so important to kind of feel that uplifting from everybody. You just go in so rejuvenated. I feel like it really helps jumpstart annual conference. I know I just absolutely love it. And I'm a huge Jane Fonda fan. I know that may seem a little silly, and it's not from her workout days. It's actually from her Grace and Frankie show. But anyways, so really encourage everyone to check out Empowering You.
I'm gonna say you seem way too young to be a Jane Fonda fan, but I forgot.
Thank you.
Later in life projects. Rob,
Yeah.
men can join him. Are you an Empower member, Rob?
I don't know if I'm a member per se. I didn't know there was like a membership card, but I've been to many events. And
Well, Rob, you will be after today, so I'll sign you up.
Well, but I've been to several events, and just because I'll write to Marcia and I'll say, hey, is there like an extra spot at one of the tables? And she says, absolutely. So Bob usually shows up, and I usually show up, and a few other men. It's not really so. I view it as a good event. I don't necessarily put oh, that's a women's event kind of label on it. It's just a good event. And so I try to go when I can. The problem I have, who do I talk to about having the NBA continually eat into my weekends? Weekends are special time. Saturday, Sunday, a lot of people watching college football, pro football. And who do I talk to about having conferences start on go Monday through Thursday? Is that one of you three? I'm just giving you a hard time, but it does.
To talk about it, you have to start early.
Yeah, but the Empower event is a very good event. I would definitely go. I'll go. I think I'll go in Denver. I haven't booked my flights yet, but yeah, Rich, if you haven't been, you should go.
Yeah, no, I haven't. And Alicia, self-serving, who's the band this year, the concert at NBA Annual?
Katy Perry.
Was
Or
it
is that no? It's Gloria Estefan.
That's
Gloria
a big,
Estefan.
all right. Okay,
Yeah.
so Gloria Estefan. All right. Katy Perry, that would have been.
Katy Perry is the Freedom concert.
Freedom.
Oh, Freedom. Okay, yeah. I wondered. I know they got fined by the CFPB. We had Stan on a month and a half ago. I kind of busted his chops about it, but he said no. Onward Ho at the concert, and they're going Katy Perry. They dialed up the budget for the concert this year. It sounds like so, but.
Both concerts are going to be amazing. I'm excited.
It is really, and that's only started, that was like maybe 10 years ago, I want to say that started, but a very cool way to just end the NBA annual on that final night. And yeah. So,
Yeah, it's a fun way to close out an amazing conference. Absolutely.
it's the NBA conferences, if you go there, it's a really, get your money's worth. I mean, it's an action-packed, just series of 30-minute meetings, one after another, a lot of walking, a lot of talking, maybe a little imbibing of adult beverages at night. So it's good to, have something at the end of it to kind of blow off some steam and see people one last time before you all head back to wherever you're going. So.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, on that note, I'll talk up a little bit about what you can expect this year at Annual. This is obviously our biggest conference, and there's so much going on. And there's a couple of new things this year that are really fun. So this year, NBA is introducing Tech Elevated. Business leaders and tech professionals can attend the Tech Talks on the Hub stage, so in the Hub area. And there's a 2-day tech showcase to stay on top of the latest trends, where we can learn about mitigating risks, maintaining security, staying ahead of the curve. So Tech Elevated, that's a new feature this year that's going to be great. As always, the speaker lineup is incredible. This year we have FHFA's Sandra Thompson, FHA Commissioner Julia Gordon, CEO of Fannie Mae, Priscilla, I always mess up her last name, Almodovar. And then the interim CEO of Freddie Mac, Mike Hutchins, and Goldie Hawn, which will be really fun. Terrell Davis, former Denver Bronco Pro Football Hall of Famer. So speaker lineup is going to be amazing. Our member engagement team, so the people you have on here, as well as Vanita and Laura, in addition, will be at our membership suite. So if anybody's there, we would love it if you'd stopped by to say hi. Quick plug for Jordan and I. We host the MBA runs for all of our conferences, and we're hosting 2 events this year, which is really exciting. Our annual 5K run walk is on Monday by Jordan Higgins on Tuesday at 6 a.m. So really fun way to get some fresh air, start your day feeling energized. So our annual conference is going to be one for the books.
Ashley, you should know that Rich hosts. Rich, when is your worldwide wiffle ball tournament? Did it already happen?
It was like 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So
I didn't get the invitation.
I know you would travel cross country for a wiffle ball tournament, but yeah, it was good. It was, yeah, we're the world's largest wiffle ball tournament, whatever that's worth. So yeah.
So what if the NBA, instead of a run, tapped you and said, "Hey, could you set up a wiffle ball tournament, 7 a.m. Monday morning?" Could you pull it off?
I mean, all the likely players are probably out too late with me to make anything possible at 7 a.m. But
Okay,
maybe like 7 p.m., and under the lights, maybe, and then maybe got some there. So, a couple kegs, but so.
You'd be surprised how many people show up to the run. In Nashville, we had over 70 people show up. So, and a lot of them were out probably a little bit later than they should have been, and they still made it. So I don't want to hear any excuses out of anybody thinking they can't get out of this run.
Boy.
Well, I like it. And I mean, I love the evolution of the conferences and the addition of all these things that we've been talking about, including the runs and yoga in the morning. It is really cool, all jokes aside. And one of the other things you've done just such a better job, MBA in general, last 5 years, is just social media. I mean, I feel like I know all this stuff, even though I've never, participated in the run in the morning. Yeah, you guys just do a great job kind of projecting on social and letting people know, how the association's evolving and the events are evolving. So just personal observation. So, and I did, because I noticed how many people were at the damn Nashville run, and I was sitting in this office that morning, logged on, potentially hungover, like, oh my God, that's a ton of people. It's for an MBA conference to be up that early. But so kudos to you guys for doing whatever you're doing to turn the vote out. So
yeah. Well, thank you.
Good stuff. Professional certifications, another big part of, MBA membership and the way people can benefit, the AMP and the CMB. I've had a lot of friends that have become CMBs in the last year. So I've been vicariously kind of following along their journey. But Ashley, if you could just tell the audience a little bit about those designations, how people benefit from them.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I wanted to mention, all 3 of us have designations. Alicia and I have our CMB, Jordan and I have our AMP, and it really just is a testament to the knowledge that we want to bring to our members. The AMP is really an amazing designation to go for if you are really looking to expand your knowledge about the broader mortgage industry. You go through the School of Mortgage Banking 1 through 3. And it covers the width of the industry, everything from fulfillment to servicing, warehouse, wholesale, TPO channels. School Mortgage Banking 2 is really all about secondary and capital markets. And then School 3 is really where it all comes together, and you get paired up into a team and you really input your business decisions into a simulation. So it's a lot of fun. You have a presentation afterwards, and once you finish School 3, that's when you obtain your AMP, or your Accredited Mortgage Professional designation. The CMB is really the industry standard designation and the highest level of professional success in our industry. It symbolizes not only respect and credibility, but ethics and achievement within the real estate finance industry. This one's a little bit different. It is a point-based calculation or qualification. And to begin that process, Teresa Furman is who runs the CMB designation with MBA. And she'll calculate your points based on professional experience, documented education, and then industry participation. And then you'll go through your prep course. And then when you're ready, you get to schedule your written exam and then your oral panel. But it's and then once you pass both of those, you're admitted into the CMB Society, and that society is filled with some of the most incredible people who are extremely passionate about this industry and passionate about giving back to this industry. And there's so many mentors that you can find. And speaking as a young professional, there's an incredible amount of knowledge and professionalism within that society. So highly, highly recommend both of those designations if you're looking to expand your knowledge.
Do any of you get involved in the advocacy conference? I think that's next March or April. Is that, Ashley, is that you?
Yes.
I've heard wonderful things, great things about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we all do.
I can let Jordan speak to it.
Yeah. So next April is the National Advocacy Conference. So that's our annual legislative fly-in. And I know I'm biased saying this, MBA hosts a lot of great conferences throughout the year, but if you're going to attend one conference, it should be the National Advocacy Conference, because that's the backbone of what we do for our members, is advocate on their behalf. And so it's a smaller, more intimate conference. You know, you get the direct advocacy, so members get to connect face to face with their elected officials on Capitol Hill for the Hill Day. And that's, you know, the in-person interaction is, you know, more impactful than a lot of other forms of communication. So we highly encourage members to take part in that. And there's just so many great educational sessions to NAC as well. But you know, it's a great conference to go to. So
One thing else,
And if
I was going to say, one thing I'll say too, and this is something that our advocacy team has said in the past, is the staffers that are on the Hill and the legislators that are on the Hill are about 6 feet wide and 6 inches deep, and that's where we come in from an industry standpoint. And it's our job and the members' job and the people who are coming in for the state delegations to really educate and share our stories and educate the staffers in the room on why these issues are so important and are so impactful. And our advocacy team does an incredible job setting up. I think they had, like Jordan said, over 250 meetings this last NAC to really get our members in the doors and be able to educate the legislative staff on the importance of what's going on in our industry and how it really affects us. So highly recommend getting involved in that.
Yeah, and then the day before is the state and local workshop. So if you haven't been to that and you are affiliated with any of your state and local MBAs, that's another great piece of the conference to participate in. There's a lot more discussions, and it's very hands-on. You meet some great people, and then you get to meet people from your state before you go into NAC and have your Hill meetings. So I think just the building relationships with people that have the same passion as you and in the same district is extremely powerful.
Amy Arazi, I'm butchering your last name. Azarandia calling me out in the chat for my CMB. But I was actually, Rob, I was just at lunch with our mutual friend, Sue Schaefer, who just went through the CMB. She was talking about how tough it was. I was like kind of leaning, towards maybe doing it in 25. And then she scared me a little bit. So do people fail, right? Do people fail? How does that work?
They do, but I think the society doesn't want you to fail, right? They really do want to give you the tools and the guidance. I think it's really, and Ashley, you can speak to kind of your experience, but for me, I was petrified of it. If I'm going to be all honest, I was like, there's no way I'm going to do this. I had the most fantastic sponsor who believed in me before I kind of believed in myself. My study group was fantastic. And just the relationships from the society in general and kind of the feedback that they provide to really help give you the tools. You kind of do it at your own timeline. I say the biggest thing that I was told is to put a date on the calendar. If you say this is the date I'm going to take my test, you need a goal. And it's really what you put into it, right? So it is a lot to study for, depending on what part of the industry that you're in and what your overall knowledge is. But I wouldn't regret that experience for anything. It was tough. I had a great support system. So I think if you know what you're getting into, that kind of sets you up for success.
Couldn't agree more.
And as I promised, the time flies on this show, and here we are out of time. But wanted to let you guys go around the horn, and we'll go in the same, at least the Zoom clock wheel I'm looking at, starting with Ashley, and yeah, just have you guys kind of bid adieu. Maybe one note, parting note for the audience before we take this thing to Thursday night and the start of the NFL season.
Absolutely. Well, my shameless plug is so my main role is on the membership team, but my side job is something I'm very passionate about. Is I run the residential side of our Impact group, which is our young professionals networking group. So 40 and under, anybody can get involved, whether you're 40 and under or not. But it's really geared towards the young professionals, professional development. We have our Impact Summit, very similar to the Empowering You Summit. It's a full day packed with professional development panels and speakers. It's for young professionals by young professionals. So they really create what content they want to see. That's in Dallas, and that's going to be in the spring again. We also have fundraisers for our Open Doors Foundation. We have a fundraiser coming up in Nashville on September 11th. So please look into that. But Impact is near and dear to my heart. We have our Spotlight Award that we just presented, the last 5 winners of that, and we'll be posting on LinkedIn here in a couple weeks. But it's an amazing industry, and we need the young professionals who are going to come up and replace the aging population that is going to want to retire at some point. We need that succession planning to start. So Impact is really where you can do that and where you can get involved.
Jordan?
Yeah, so I have to mention, since we're in the middle of renewal season, for anyone who is an MBA member, make sure you get your renewals in by 9:30. That's coming up quick. You will get a complimentary pass, speaking of the School of Mortgage Bankings, to one virtual School of Mortgage Banking. So that's a savings of $18.50. So get those renewals in. Our whole team is here to help. And also to really quickly, excuse me, just also something that's top of mind for members, just given the market, is home equity lending is a bright spot right now for borrowers. So we're having a lot of interest right now in our home equity lending study. So if you're interested in that, you can find more information on our website too. But just wanted to throw research in there as well, that's been sort of dominating the conversation lately with our lenders focused on HELOC. So
awesome. And Alicia?
So obviously I come from a little bit different side of the MBA for the associate members. So just real quick, we have 3 different tiers for associate membership: Standard, Select, and Premier. And the awesome thing about renewal season is if you upgrade your membership, you get $1,000 off automatically of your annual dues, which is a huge savings. And you get a ton of extra perks from access and exposure, to just a wealth of additional benefits with the committees and councils that we talked about earlier. So if you want to learn more about the different options that you have, as any of my associate members are on, please reach out. I'm happy to chat.
Excellent. Rob, any words of wisdom or parting thoughts for the audience before we bid adieu?
No, the NBA, it's a great organization. I have yet to be disappointed in anything the NBA has done. The only, if I had to find fault, there's almost too many offerings. It seems like there's a major conference every month. And it was interesting hearing Jordan talk about, well, if you're going to go to one, you should go to the advocacy. But still, I think a lot of people go to the national. But yeah, it's just a great tool for anyone in the industry. So hats off to you guys.
Hats off indeed. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on and doing such a great job talking about all the things going on at MBA and the ways people can get involved. And I want to thank you guys. It's you can always pick nits at things, but all in all, I mean, just our industry needs a professional organization like MBA so badly, and it's been so impactful. People don't see the impact because things would be happening that would be horrible if not for MBA's existence. And I think that's what's most lost on people. So, but thanks again for coming on, and we'll have to do this again. This was fun. And yeah, and to our audience, thank you very much for joining in. If you're listening to this on the podcast, where most of you listen, or watching on YouTube, we do the show live every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Zoom, The Big Picture, part of the Chrisman Commentary Network. And this will become a podcast and a YouTube within about 15 minutes after the live show ends as well. So hope to see everybody next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. I think we got our guy Chris Bennett to talk, or maybe is it Chris? I think it is Chris Bennett next week to talk capital markets. And have a good weekend and enjoy the start of the football season tonight. So take care,
Thank you, guys.
guys.
Bye, everyone.